Alright, we are back with another entry into the TCC challenge. And this time we kind of went a different route. Rather than going for as few ingots as possible, challenging ourselves that way, I'm going for as high of a score as possible. And the top score is 999,999, and I finally hit it with this team. It took me about 4 or 5 tries, but we did it. This team is designed around turn efficiency, obviously. Ultimacia and Vayne both get free turns. Panelo gets... Well, Panelo's skills don't use turns, except I think her EX might use a turn. I'll have to keep an eye on that when I use it. But I think her EX technically counts as a turn, but then just allows her to go again right away. Do I use it here? No. I use it next time. So, yeah, TCC challenge. For those of you who don't know what the TCC challenge is, I will put what it is in the description. But for those of you who don't know how to read the description, and you know who you are, what the TCC challenge basically is you do the hardest difficulty of a stage, which right now is Chaos, and there are certain units you're not allowed to use for the challenge, because those units are just really, really good for the specific stage. And in all cases, there's Aranea, because she's just busted. In fact, she's so busted that for the TCC challenge, you can't even use her as a friend unit. And she's the only one that's like that, though. Anybody else you can use as a friend unit, even if you can't use them themselves. So all of the boosted units you can't use. That's for this particular battle, Lightning, Hope, and Shadow. But you can use them as a friend. You just can't use them yourself. And then I think the other two, it was a short list this time around, were Zack and Galuf, I think is how you pronounce that. If you've ever seen any of my videos, you know I don't know how to pronounce anything. So, yeah, that's what the TCC challenge is. I'll also link a link to the website if you want to look into doing the challenge yourself. And you should. It's a lot of fun. So here, yeah, I think I end up doing haste into brave attack. I'm sorry, HP attack. I guess I'm trying... Yeah. So I was kind of baiting there what to do, because for this boss you typically are fine as long as you don't take a break. Take a break. I mean, as long as one of your units don't get broken. So that's why I brave attacked with Ultimacia there. Because I didn't want Ultimacia to get knocked back, and then the boss gets its turn a lot quicker. Because I knew the boss was going to get a ton of brave, and I would need to knock all that down. Which I do here with just Vayne anyways, because Vayne is that good. And my artifacts for Vayne are absolutely fantastic. I have fantastic artifacts, which I forgot to show at the beginning of the video again. But I have fantastic artifacts, like basically the best you can get for Vayne, if not very close to it. And I have almost the best you can get with Ultimacia. And I have, I would say, good to slightly above average artifacts for Panelo, because I just hate artifact farming. And so if I finally do get amazing artifacts for someone, it's a rare occurrence, but it occurs here. But anyways, you typically don't want to get broken with this boss, because this boss likes to jump its turn up in the turn counter, kind of surprise you that way. So as long as you don't get broken, you're typically fine. Although I will say the boss also has a Brave plus HP attack, which I think it does next. But we're not going to let the boss use it. We're just going to keep knocking him back with Vayne. In order to, well, for turn efficiency. So in order to get the maximum score for this, I forgot if I mentioned it or not, but you basically need to do it in 54 turns or less. I know because one of my runs of this, I did it in 55 turns and got 990,000. So I was like, no, so close. But this time around, I want to say we do it in 52 turns. So spoiler alert, we do this in 52 turns. So yeah, here if I use Force of Will, it should break him and then re-break him, but... Oh, right, I'm in my free turns, so it doesn't really matter. But I used Mockwave and Force of Will right there in order to build Vayne's EX up. So it would be ready for when his free turns run out, so I could keep knocking the guy back. I I don't know how many people have noticed this, but for Vayne, when he's using his free turns, his Brave Attack and HP Attack, or in this case, Kick and Pummel, don't build the EX gauge at all. But his skills, Mach Wave and Force of Will, do build the EX gauge when he's in his free turns. So that's something you can keep in mind, is if you've noticed your EX gauge is very close to being full, and Vayne has his free turns up, yeah, see, the guy never got to use his Brave plus HP Attack. Yeah. But if you're using Vayne's free turns, and you notice his EX is very close to being full, then just use one of his skills, and it will be full for you by the time his free turns are up, and then you can get his free turns again and knock the person back because of his EX. So here I kind of stall for a minute because I'm trying to decide if I should just attack the Lamia out right away, or if I should break Ramza first and then break the Lamia in order to push them back. And yes, it is pronounced Lamia because she's extremely lame with some of her skills. So I end up pushing Ramza back, and then I push the Lamia back, which in hindsight, looking back at this recording, I probably didn't need to do. Because one of the reasons I brought Ultimacia here as opposed to somebody else's turn efficient, although I don't know if I have anybody else who's as turn efficient as Ultimacia, but one of the reasons I brought her here was to use Hell's Judgment under Summon, which will deal full damage to everyone. It's best to use it under Summon, if at least for this particular instance, because it doesn't have any overflow. So you want to get Ultimacia's max Brave as high as you can when you're going to use it. And so that's what we do. We use it under Summon a couple of times. So for... I don't know if I should be doing this, but I guess it ends up working out. Then Panelo is using her skills, which outside of summon are free turns, so you don't want to use it in the summon because it kind of wastes the summon. But luckily I know that Ultimacia's EX is fully charged, and we use our big brains to have her use her EX at the very end of the summon as opposed to within the summon. So now we can take full advantage of her free turns, even if we don't get to use Hell's Judgment there under the summon. But anyways, I'll probably use it here again, despite the fact that it's not a free usage, and you don't get a lot of charges of it in order to get rid of the mannequins. So now that the mannequins are gone, we want to keep the Lamia pushed back so that she can't resummon them, because they will use many turns in order to kill them again. But she's already so far back thanks to not only using the summon, but Vayne pushing her back as much as he did. That's why I picked Leo, by the way, for a friend unit, was to push the Lamia back in wave 2. So you can see there she removed her debuffs. One of the kind of gimmicks with the bosses in these waves is at 80% and 50% of their health, they will cleanse themselves of all debuffs. So some debuffers can kind of struggle with that. You can still take Vanille here, though, because she's an Amazeballs debuffer. She is very good at it. But she has a bunch of charges of D-Protect, so even though the bosses cleanse themselves, she can put it back up without having to worry too much, except for maybe the third wave. Because the third wave cleanses themselves not only at 50% and 80% of their health, but whenever they feel like it. Well, I should say after they do their group attack. But anyways, back on topic here. Between Vayne and Leo, she's not going to get a turn to resummon, which is how you want to do this if you want to get the maximum turns. Panelo's EX was so close to being charged there, but her regen waltz will allow her turn to come up shortly to allow her to use it. So let's see, we're at 30 turns, we use it, and now we're at 31 turns. So yeah, her EX does use a turn. It just allows her to take a turn right afterwards anyways. But it's a fantastic EX because it ignores defense and resistance types. So it's basically always going to do the same amount of damage, which for me is 75,000, which is a good amount of damage. But if I had better initial Brave artifacts for Panelo, it would do a little bit more damage. I don't know exactly what the highest amount of damage is, but yeah. I get a nice little launch there, even though it wasn't necessary. And now the third wave. Oh, I still have a use of Leo. Leo's fantastic for single targets, and his debuff appeared on A, which it was a little unfortunate because yeah, see, I'm like, okay, Leo's debuff appeared on A, breaking A. So Leo wants to use his Master Blade to push back whoever has his unique debuff 2 spots. If he uses Master Blade on somebody who doesn't have his debuff, it only pushes him back 1 spot. But that's why we broke A and we didn't break B. And then these guys, what they do is their attacks will knock you back. They're actually not that bad. They're not that tough overall. I'm surprised more units weren't banned for the TCC challenge, but they weren't. But they're not that tough. Their gimmick is they knock you back with their abilities. So Laser Shot version 1 will knock you back 1 spot. If it breaks you, it'll knock you back a 2nd spot, obviously. When their HP gets lower, they'll get Laser Shot version 2, which will knock you back a few more. And fortunately, Ultimacia came back because her Hell's Judgment has a gravity effect. So even though B charged up its Brave really high, we were still able to bring its Brave down with Ultimacia. So yeah, just charging Vayne up there. Yeah, Ultimacia got broken, but due to the fact, due to the way the turn count was happening, it didn't really matter. Which is kind of nice when you're able to work around that. So when you come across bosses that like to knock you back, if your unit's turns are all back-to-back anyways, it doesn't really matter as long as they knock the person in front back. Which kind of made this fight easier than some of the other Chaos fights in my opinion, but whatever. So I'm at turn 40. At this point, I should just be using skills, because I know I need to do it in 54 turns or less. I guess I technically didn't use a skill with Panelo, but you guys know what I mean. But basically, we're not going to Brave or HP attack with anyone except for Panelo, because her skills don't dump Brave. They only build Brave. Except for, well, I mean, yeah, her skills don't dump Brave, so we still have to use HP attacks. Typically, since we're talking about it, I like to use her Waltz HP attack over her Roomba, because I like the fact that its batteries are the rest of the team by so much. She got Apocalypse up right away again. Like, Ultimacia just got like 6 turns in a row, which is something unique that she can do. If you have a bunch of her skills to burn through, just use them all back to back, and her EX will be charged again. So that's pretty nice. I actually think I completely run out of Ultimacia skills, which is fine, because it's at the very end of the battle, and it means we used her to her fullest extent, which we want to do here anyways, in order to keep the turn counts below 55. And so, let's see, they're cleansing themselves. Now, they're doing an all attack, which is going to be a Brave plus HP attack that hits everybody, which is actually kind of weak in this Chaos battle compared to what we've had to deal with previous Chaos battles, in my opinion. So, I wouldn't worry about it too much. And, what are we going to do with Vayne? Oh, we're going to knock them back. So Vayne's going to have his free turns next. I could probably dump the Brave there and not care. Yeah, see, so they're both going to Brave plus HP attack right here. And they're going to break Panelo. But I don't care, because their Brave plus HP attack is so weak. Look at that. How weak is that? Like, in previous Chaos battles, that would have taken everybody's health below half, if not killed someone, getting a Brave plus HP attack happening on the entire party. But anyways, it doesn't here, because the gimmick of this boss isn't necessarily strong Brave plus HP attacks on everybody. It's the fact that they push you back certain turns, which isn't so bad, especially when I can push them back. But it can get kind of bad if... So if you look at the turns right now, luckily I killed them before things get out of control, but as the enemy's health gets lower, they can get it kind of out of control. But what's happening is they're both going to get a turn, and then Ultimacia gets a turn, and then they both get a turn again. So sometimes you can get in this weird, unfortunate situation with this boss, with this wave, where they just get too many turns back to back. They're able to build up their Brave and then just hit you with one really strong HP attack. So that might have been why Zack was banned from this TCC challenge, because Zack can just grab their attention and then leave your other units free to do whatever they want. And so I'm getting nervous at this point. Like, they still have a good amount of health left, and we're getting really close to 55 turns, which we know we need to be under. So we're just using skills. Boosting, I forgot what that boosted. Boosting whatever that boosts in order to hit them as hard as we can. So we'll throw up Ultimacia's EX, which itself does not use a turn. That's pretty unique, I think, to Ultimacia. Does Lightning EX use a turn? I don't remember. But even Vayne's EX uses a turn. He just gets free turns right after. Ultimacia's EX does not use a turn, and she gets a couple of free turns right after. So that's pretty nice for trying to keep that turn count down. But due to the fact that Ultimacia was able to hit as hard as she could and bring their HP down, these guys don't have a lot of HP for a Chaos battle. I'm feeling a little better. I'm like, at this point, I'm like, all right, we have a chance here. Vayne should have his free turns up, and he does, and his EX is fully charged. So I don't think they get another turn here. Like, from this point on, I don't think the bosses actually get another turn. So here's an interesting thing with these bosses. Most Chaos battles, you want to bring them down really kind of back-to-back with each other. Could I see... I should see 65 here again, but I don't. But it doesn't matter because they're dead anyways. But most Chaos bosses, you want to bring the last wave down as close to together as possible. Otherwise, the other one will buff themselves just obnoxiously, buff themselves extremely powerfully, with a buff that just can't be removed, an invisible buff. But this boss doesn't do that, and so that's kind of neat. You can take one down without having to worry about the other. But there you have it, 52 turns. Units that are allowed to be used in the TCC challenge. And, oh yeah, there was that loading pause. I was like, and for a second I was like, did I lose my internet? No. Oh, and here's the artifacts. So I went back and recorded the artifacts. So you can see with Vayne, I'm near perfect, if not actually perfect, with Vayne's artifacts, which is rare for me because I hate to farm artifacts. I hate to farm in general. But I hate grinding, I should say, in games in general. So yeah, with Panelo, I could do better, but I just don't know if it would be worth it. And then with Ultimacia, I'm nearly perfect, but I'm close enough to perfect. But anyways, thank you for watching, and